Imagine hiking with your children on a quiet trail, enjoying a summer morning in one of Arkansas's most scenic state parks, only to be ambushed by a stranger. A husband stabbed, a mother fighting to save her daughters, blood on the trail. And then, days later, the killer is found calmly getting a haircut, as if nothing ever happened. This is the real-life story of Andrew James McGann, a former schoolteacher turned accused murderer. A man with a mysterious past, and a motive that remains just as chilling as the crime itself. Welcome to the Devil's Den Murders, a case that stunned a community, broke a family, and raised terrifying questions about the people we trust. The Killer Who Got a Haircut, by Behind the Whispers of Crime. Friday, July 26, 2025, was a beautiful morning in Devil's Den State Park, located in the Ozark National Forest of Northwest Arkansas. Known for its rugged trails, cascading streams, and scenic overlooks, it's a favorite weekend destination for families. Among the visitors that morning was the Brink family, 43-year-old Clinton David Brink, his wife Kristen Amanda Brink, 41, and their two daughters, aged 7 and 9. The couple, originally from Pea Ridge, Arkansas, were described by friends as nature lovers and deeply devoted to their children. They were walking along one of the lesser trafficked trails, likely enjoying what seemed like another peaceful family hike. But at some point along that route, authorities say near the Yellow Rock Trail area, they encountered a stranger. That stranger was Andrew James McGann. At 28 years old, McGann appeared like any other visitor in the park. He wore dark clothes, carried a backpack, and walked with the casual gait of someone simply enjoying the scenery. But hidden beneath that calm appearance was a knife, and something far more sinister. Without warning, McGann allegedly ambushed the Brinks, targeting Clinton first. Kristen, in a moment of instinct and bravery, pulled her daughters away from the attack and ran for safety. She led them far enough from the scene to escape, and then, in what authorities have called an act of unimaginable courage, she ran back to help her husband. She never made it back alive. By the time first responders arrived, both Clinton and Kristen were dead, stabbed multiple times in what was described as a brutal and calculated attack. The two young Brink daughters, just 7 and 9 years old, had seen more than any child ever should. They had watched the chaos unfold in real time. Their father bleeding, their mother screaming, then their mother turning back, running alone into the danger. They had no way of knowing she would never return. As she disappeared from their view, the girls continued towards safety, running the trail as fast as their little legs would carry them. According to park staff, the girls approached a Devil's Den Visitor Center ranger station, breathless and panicked. They described what had happened through tears and shock. Park officials quickly alerted local authorities, and a massive search and recovery effort was launched. The trails were closed off. Rangers and police scoured the area. A medical evacuation helicopter was dispatched, but it was already too late. Kristen and Clinton Brink were found stabbed to death at the scene of the attack. Detectives described the scene as gruesome, calculated, and filled with rage. Authorities were struck by the brutality and by how quickly the suspect had vanished. There were no known witnesses aside from the daughters. No video surveillance in that isolated part of the park. No sign of a struggle beyond the blood and bodies left behind. The question immediately on everyone's mind was, who would do this, and why? It didn't take long for the Arkansas State Police to release a composite sketch of a man described by other parkgoers that day. He was seen walking near the area alone, dressed in black, carrying a gray mesh backpack, sunglasses, short hair. Not alarming, but not particularly friendly either. Multiple hikers had noticed him walking with an unusual stillness, never making eye contact, never acknowledging anyone. The sketch spread quickly across social media, news reports, and police bulletins. Still, authorities had little else to go on, until a break came, thanks to DNA left at the crime scene. Forensic analysts fast-tracked the testing process, working around the clock to identify a match. And within 72 hours, they had a name, Andrew James McGann. But the name wasn't familiar to Arkansas residents. No criminal record, no family ties to the Brinks, No history of violence on file, just a teaching license. Andrew McGann, 28, was a former middle school teacher who had most recently worked in Texas and Oklahoma. He had just moved to Arkansas in June 2025 and had been hired by a local school district to begin teaching in the upcoming school year. He held a spotless official background on paper. But deeper digging revealed that McGann had been placed on leave from a school in Texas the year before after concerns about his conduct in the classroom. The details of those concerns haven't been made fully public, but sources told local news outlets that there were disturbing comments and inappropriate behavior patterns noticed by students and staff. Despite that, he passed all standard background checks, which focused only on criminal records and licensing, and was cleared to work in classrooms again. Arkansas education officials would later say they had no knowledge of prior concerns. McGann had no known history of mental illness, no prior arrests, and no official red flags in his file, which made what he was accused of doing even more chilling. Because just days after committing one of Arkansas's most shocking murders, he didn't flee the state. He didn't hide out in the woods. He didn't disguise himself. He went to get a haircut. On July 30th, 2025, 4 days after the attack, Andrew McGann walked into Lupita's Beauty Salon in Springdale, Arkansas, just an hour from Devil's Denver. He sat in the chair calmly, greeted his stylist, pulled out a reference photo. According to salon staff, he was polite, quiet, and almost too normal. But what McGann didn't know was that his composite sketch had gone viral that morning. And one of the salon employees, Adriana Ruiz Avalos, recognized him almost instantly. "I saw his eyes in the mirror," she later told reporters. "He looked soulless. No life behind them." She quietly slipped to the back and called police while pretending to continue the haircut. Police arrived quickly. McGann didn't resist. He was arrested on the spot, mid-trim, with his barber's cape still draped over his shoulders. It was like a scene from a psychological thriller. A man accused of killing 2 innocent parents, caught in the most casual setting possible. But the most disturbing part? He showed no emotion. After his arrest, Andrew James McGann was taken into custody by the Arkansas State Police and questioned at length. Within hours, he allegedly confessed to the murders of Clinton and Kristen Brink. The motive, according to investigators, remains unclear. There was no known connection between McGann and the victims. He didn't know them. He wasn't stalking them. He didn't even live nearby the park. It appeared to be completely random. An ambush. An act of unprovoked, targeted violence. Investigators asked if he had planned the killings. McGann didn't deny it. He reportedly made vague and unsettling statements about purging weakness and releasing control. Psychologists who later evaluated him noted signs of narcissism, emotional detachment, and dissociative behavior. But there was another source of horrifying detail: the children. The 2 Brink daughters, now placed safely in the care of family, were interviewed gently by forensic child psychologists. Their accounts helped fill in the gaps of that morning. They said a man approached from behind while their father was adjusting his backpack. The man lunged at him without saying a word. Their mother screamed, grabbed their hands, and told them to run, but then turned back. One of the girls said, "I thought she would come right back, but she didn't." What they saw was trauma beyond words, and yet both children were able to give law enforcement critical observations that helped identify McGann. It's important to note, authorities have protected the children's identities and emotional safety above all else. They are being supported with therapy and long-term family care. News of the arrest and the murder itself spread quickly across Arkansas and soon across the entire country. The Brinks were beloved in their hometown. Clinton Brink worked in IT and volunteered at local youth programs. Kristen had been a community health nurse who advocated for children's wellness. They were known as kind-hearted, active, and devoted to their daughters. A community vigil was held just days after the arrest, where hundreds of residents lit candles and laid flowers outside the local elementary school. But grief turned to anger, especially when details of McGann's teaching history emerged. Parents were outraged that someone with prior red flags in the classroom had been able to move freely between schools and across state lines. Why was there no national alert system that flagged teachers with behavioral concerns? Why had no investigation followed him? One former colleague of McGann's from Texas told reporters, "We knew something was off. He talked about violence. He had weird drawings, but HR just let it slide." That quote ignited a public conversation. How do school systems let potential threats go unchecked? Who's accountable when the background checks fail? On August 1st, 2025, Andrew James McGann was formally charged with 2 counts of capital murder in a Washington County court. Additional charges included aggravated assault, endangering the welfare of a minor, and use of a deadly weapon in commission of a felony. Prosecutors announced that they would seek the death penalty. In a press briefing, prosecutor Kelly McMullen stated, "This was not only a violent act, it was a deliberate, calculated attack. It robbed 2 children of their parents. It tore through a community, and it will be prosecuted with the full weight of the law." McGann appeared in court via video conference. His demeanor remained eerily calm. He entered no plea at the initial hearing, and his defense team requested a mental health evaluation, which the judge granted. His next appearance is scheduled for August 25, 2025, where a full preliminary hearing will be held. If convicted, McGann faces either death by lethal injection or life without parole in an Arkansas state prison. As the days passed and national media attention intensified, more details about Andrew McGann's life began to surface, each more disturbing than the last. Born in 1996 in Texas, Andrew was described by childhood classmates as quiet, awkward, and strangely obsessed with control. He kept to himself in high school and had no close friends. One teacher recalled that he would often draw violent, post-apocalyptic scenes in his notebooks, but never showed outward aggression. After graduating, McGann pursued a degree in education, receiving his teaching license by age 24. He was placed in middle school classrooms in Plano and Arlington, Texas, before taking a temporary position in Oklahoma. Alarming patterns. Former co-workers said McGann made students uncomfortable. Some reported his obsession with military tactics and war stories, even though he had never served in the armed forces. He was twice placed on administrative leave, but each time, his contracts were quietly allowed to lapse without formal charges. Because of this soft offboarding, his record stayed clean enough to pass background checks. Experts now argue that McGann represents a dangerous blind spot in the national vetting system. He wasn't mentally well, but he wasn't flagged. He acted out, but never criminally. His case sits in the gray zone where warning signs go unreported or ignored until it's too late. His online presence showed more red flags. Obscure blog posts about cleansing weakness from society. A YouTube comment trail where he often responded to crime videos with vague phrases like, "Sometimes it must be done." A Reddit post weeks before the attack that read, "If I disappear into the woods, no one will know who I was." As McGann awaits trial, the focus has shifted back to the ones whose lives were lost and the 2 children left behind. The Brink daughters, now living with extended family, have been placed under a care plan that includes trauma therapy, homeschooling, and community financial support. Over $250,000 has been raised via GoFundMe for their future. A nonprofit called Kristen's Light has been launched in honor of their mother, supporting victims of trauma and promoting child mental health care. Meanwhile, Clinton's former employer, a regional tech company, has pledged to fund outdoor safety awareness programs for families across Arkansas. The Brink story is being remembered not only as a tragedy, but as a lesson. Kristen died a hero, but Clinton died trying to protect his family. 2 little girls lived to tell their story and will now grow up as symbols of strength. The Devil's Den State Park has since reopened, but signs now warn hikers to report suspicious activity immediately. Park rangers also received upgraded emergency communication tools in the weeks following the tragedy. Questions that still haunt us. Why did he do it? To this day, Andrew James McGann has offered no clear reason, no manifesto, no demands, no apology. Just a confession and silence. Was it psychosis? A deep-seated hatred of society? A sudden mental break? Or was it simply that we missed the signs? This is the Devil's Den case, a story of love, loss, silence, and survival. If you were moved by this story, don't forget to like, and subscribe for more in-depth true crime investigations. Leave a comment. What warning signs should systems never ignore again? Share this video to raise awareness of family safety on public trails. And remember, behind every headline is a family forever changed.